including the cubs, and that excludes a number of young lionesses, 3 young lionesses who seem to have broken away from the pride, which again is not uncommon to see particular lionesses starting a new one. Here you can see that young cub with the wound on his side. It's difficult to say what that was from. There you can hear one of the most iconic sounds in the African bush. Lions calling to each other. Such a special sound, and we're lucky enough to catch that on camera, and of course it can happen anytime, so keep your eyes peeled. You never know what might come on down to the waterhole. So that is a couple of clips from of our views of the Tortured Pride. We're back live now with these wildebeest, or brindled gnu, depending on where you're from. But continuing on our lion adventure, we've got to go into easily, I would say, our most famous lions. These are the Tembe lions from our Tembe camera. They've really spent a lot of time around the waterhole, and we've seen many hunts and successful hunts taking place here at this waterhole. Just this weekend, we had the lions take down a warthog and a nyala, which is a small antelope. You can see this big collared female lion with a baby nyala. And this big old female, she seems to have 3 subadult cubs that join her at the waterhole from time to time. Well, at least when we can see them. But here you see them running away with that kill that Mom made. As I mentioned, not much sharing when it comes to the lions. They will share, but only under duress if they're forced to do so. Those are our beautiful Tembe lions that, as I say, we've been seeing really great shots of in the last few months. And that collared female with her 3 subadults is certainly the stars of the show when it comes to the Tembe cameras. Here we are live again. Looks like another buffalo. You can actually hear that rattling bird call in the background, which was the oxpeckers, birds that live on the buffalo and actually feed off the parasites that frequent buffaloes in particular, and of course many other antelope and large mammals in Africa. Just quickly, Denise asks, when do males get expelled from the pride and then become nomadic? Thank you, Denise, for your question. Normally at around 2.5 to 3 years old, the males start to get pushed out by the dominant male. And they'll often fight back the best they can, but they're nowhere near strong enough to fend off their fathers. and you'll often see them get chased off and then try to rejoin the pride a few times until eventually they get the message. And they will then move off to try and find their own territories. And sometimes they will move off with a couple of other males, either their brothers or cousins. It might be a similar age to them. Other times they will, out on their own, run into other younger male lions who will slowly become more comfortable with each other and eventually form those coalitions that can eventually become powerful enough to take over their own territories. So hope that answers your question, Denise. And then lastly, but certainly not least, a lovely character that we've started to see more of. This is the Addo male. And this is up from our Tau camera, Dikwe. For all of you out there who are not sure, all of our cameras are based in South Africa. Many of them part of the Kruger National Park, or the Greater Kruger National Park. And of course, Tau, which is up around the border between South Africa and Botswana. And this is where this clip comes from. And this young male is in the process of bonding with a new male, a different nomadic male, the Bolakega male, I believe. And the two of them hoping to form a new coalition. This Addo male had a brother who was killed by the dominant male lion in this area. He looks very full in this little clip. So it looks like he's got a meal recently. But yeah, it looks like that young male is, well, pretty big male. He's now befriending a new nomadic male that may well make them very difficult for the current established pride males to deal with. One of those dominant males, a famous lion in the area known as Monomoholo. He was actually killed in a fight with these lions. So don't be surprised if there is a new takeover in the area. But keep your eyes on the cameras for the action that might unfold at Tau in the coming months. So there you go, folks. That's just a couple of the prides and famous, well-known lions that we see on the cameras from time to time. Some of the characters you might be able to identify if you stay with us and if you watch the cameras regularly. Of course, lions are more active in the early morning, early evenings, and at night. So if you're keen on spotting some lions, you never know when they might come down. They can, of course, come down any time, but always worth keeping an eye on the cameras early morning and late afternoon. Back live now with these brindled gnu. Beverly just commented, beautiful shots. Thank you, Beverly. I'm glad you've enjoyed some of the footage and wonderful things that we see on the cameras. And then Denise asks, do young females ever get expelled from the pride? Denise, they don't tend to get expelled by the others, but every now and again they will choose to move off on their own. It often happens, or when it does happen, it's often when a lioness is giving birth. She has her cubs away from the pride, and sometimes she will choose not to go back to the natal pride at all. Most of the time she will, and reintroduce those cubs to the pride, but every now and again she will go off and start her own. For the most part, you'll find that the females will stay with the pride for most of their life. Thank you again for your questions. So that's really it when it comes to the lions. You know, lions, of course, are so important for our natural environment here in Africa. They are, of course, the most dominant predator species on the African continent. Regardless, they still face a number of risks and threats across the world and in various conservation areas, from generally the usual suspects, which tends to be loss of habitat, human-wildlife conflict, there are a number of incredible conservation groups out there doing amazing work to look after these incredible animals, so keep your eye out and on the web for any potential things you can help out with. And lastly, before we go, the answer to our quiz. KL got it right. The answer is they can be found. Where can lions be found in the world? Well, they can be found in India. So outside of Africa, the only place where you can see wild lions is in Gir National Park in India. They're doing some incredible conservation work where the numbers of Gir lions have actually gone up in the last few years, so I hope that may continue. So thank you for your interaction today, folks, and thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the AfriCam show, brought to you by explore.org. It's been my pleasure being with you this afternoon, and we hope to see you all again next week at the same time. We'll be looking at highlights from the weekend and, of course, going through some of our live camera shots, seeing what might come down to the water holes in these beautiful locations in Southern Africa. So thanks again, folks, for joining us. We'll see you all again soon. Cheers for now.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the African for Good show, brought to you by explore.org. Every Thursday, we're going to be interviewing an expert in conservation and talking about African wildlife, what threats the animals face, and also look at the success stories in the African conservation. It's really exciting to be able to have conservation discussions about the wildlife that you see on the live cameras every day on Explore and African. We know the Explore community is full of passionate wildlife lovers, and we really look forward to answering any questions you may have. Hope you enjoy the show. Okay, great stuff. Well, welcome to Manus and welcome to everyone to today's show, African for Good. We've got a really cool guest today with us, folks. We're lining up for the 10th of August, which you may or may not know, but that's World Lion Day. I think it's a day that we should have almost all the